Good afternoon, and today we are making a beef brisket with sweet potatoes. And I used to make one just like this, and I called it my sweet potato beef chili without beans. So I have a hard time with beans because um, they have a lot of anti-nutrients and lectins that cause gas and bloating and fermenting in your gut. It also has a lot of carbs too. I do eat lentils now, but that took me a long time just to be able to eat lentils, and now they're kind of a staple in my diet since I've been eating more plant-based stuff. So today we actually are going to make this with organic grass-fed beef um, from Outpost. So I have that here. It's ready in there. This is the brand. This has been sitting in my my freezer for a while, and I didn't want it to get freezer burnt. I've been eating mostly vegetarian, so I haven't been cooking this. That was in my freezer, so it had to get made. So organic beef that is grass-fed can have gut healing nutrients for it, and I am pairing this with my homemade broth that I made yesterday. This is a vegetable broth, and this is what it looks like when it's all done. And these are the vegetables after they're strained out. So that is after I made the broth. So that's what I used for this. And I already put the beef in there. All I did was sear it with a little bit of olive oil in a frying pan. And then I put it in here. And the other stuff that I already put in here is I cut up a large sweet potato, a large onion. I put some garlic, cloves, or shallots in there, and I put the green stuff in here is sage. I had some sage in my fridge, so that is what kind of makes this recipe a little bit different than I've made before. So I'm going to do the sage and kind of play off of that because that needed to get used up in my fridge, and I thought that's kind of like a perfect fall winter recipe ingredient, and I think it'll taste really good with this. So I'm going to use seasonings that kind of complement the sage in that. I'm not putting the bay leaf in there because I already made the broth with the bay leaf. So the next thing we are going to put in there is organic tomato paste. And then you're going to put in, this is like about, it's almost a whole of those one little cans. I'm going to put paprika in there, a little bit of ground turmeric, organic chili seasoning, a little bit of cinnamon. That's one of my ingredients I'm going to play off the sage, ground cumin. This is very complementary as well to the sage, turmeric, and cinnamon, and it also goes really well with the Mexican spices like paprika and chili pepper. Also, ground cardamom is actually more like kind of an Indian spice, and it's so good for you. I'm going to put this in there. It will also complement the sage and the fall kind of winter flavor that we're going to put in this. And then onion powder. And then you want to use like a Celtic sea salt, a pink Himalayan salt, or real salt, which is its own brand. And for the seasonings, I always kind of eyeball it, but I would probably do like 3 teaspoons of ground cinnamon or 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, kind of depending on how much you put in there, like for water and broth. I'm going to use ground turmeric, which is, I would probably do a teaspoon because that is pretty, well, I would do 2 teaspoons. It's pretty bold and it likes to stain, so I don't want to put too much. And then paprika, you can put like a good teaspoon or 2 as well. It's kind of like based on taste, to be honest. So I kind of like put everything in my stock, and then once it's starting to cook and boil, I'll like take a spoon and taste it a little bit, and if it needs more seasoning, and then I put like another teaspoon of the stuff in. Same with chili pepper, but chili pepper, like honestly, you can put like a whole tablespoon or more in there. Ground cardamom, ground cardamom, I would put just 1 teaspoon. It's kind of strong. And then onion powder, you can probably do 1 or 2. And ground cumin, you can probably do similar to the chili pepper, a little bit more of that. So then once you get that all in there, you can mix it up. And I took some of the broth out so I can save it for later. And then I'm just going to fill it more with water because I think that once the meat sits in here and all the vegetables, it's going to help make kind of its own new stock. So I don't need to use up all of my broth today just for this one stew. And this is about 20 cup pressure cooker or multi-cooker. So I'm going to fill it to the fill line. And then if you want it a little bit sweeter, I like to do creamier. I like to do dairy-free, and you can add like a half of a can of coconut cream or coconut milk, full fat, to this and mix it up, and it'll make more of a creamy one. Otherwise, you can have this more like a brisket stew, and that's what I like to do, so I'm going to leave the coconut oil out of it. You can also add a little bit of olive oil to this, but the meat has its natural oils and fats in it, so I'm probably not going to do that today unless I feel like it needs a little bit extra, but I don't think so. So that is a really easy way to throw together a quick stew. Remember, always choose grass-fed, grass-finished, or just grass-fed organic beef whenever possible. I would not eat beef otherwise. So it already looks pretty. And I can let you know later how it tastes, and I bet it's going to be delish. All right, have a good one. Bye.